This video will demonstrate how to create a new quote in the system. So firstly, once logged into the system, we just go to Merchant and then Sales, and then from the quote drop down we click on Quote List. From this page here we can search for existing quotes, and on the right hand side there we have a link there, Create, which will allow you to create a new quote. So when we first hit this page, it asks us to search for a person within the system, which will be the customer. So once you've found the relevant customer, we just click on their name. We'll then be prompted with a list of any companies that that user is allocated to. So we then select which company the quote will be for, and then we get prompted with a list of addresses for the user and the company. So we then select an address by clicking on the name of the address. So we can then select an applicable tax code. We can set a forecasted close date for the quote, as well as an expiry date. So you'll see there's already a value that's been populated in here, and we do have a setting against the portal which allows you to set the number of days before a quote should expire, which is what this date has been based on, but then you have the ability to override that here as you're creating a new one. You can enter a promotion code for the quote, and then lastly you can put a description in there which may be visible to the customer on their quote template, depending on how your template has been configured. Once you're happy with those details, you just click Save. So what we've done here is we've created an empty quote shell, and we now need to add some product to it. So once the quote has been created, we get taken to the view page, and we can see some information here about who the customer is and when it was created. We've then got our workflow controls, which allow us to control the life cycle of the quote or the opportunity, and these features here are both discussed at length in a separate video. We've got a list of quote items, and we have a workflow control journal here. We can add comments, we can see notifications, and we can also attach documents. All of this will be discussed in another video as well. So coming up to the quote line items, to add a new line item to the quote, we just click on New Line Item. So this takes us into the product search. So from here we can search via a number of different fields to find the relevant product. Once we've found the product that we're after, we just click on the name of the product. So the next step here is to just tidy up some of the details for the line item. So the display name there is the name of the product that's come through, and we've got the ability here to override that or tweak it if we need to. We've also got the description of the product, which again we can override. We can set the quantity for this product, and the next setting here governs how the supplier sell price is managed on the quote. So we can either have it configured to use a market price, which is a fluctuating price based on the live supply sell price that's attached to the product. So if you've got data feeds updating products daily or multiple times a day, by having this configured, the quote will be referencing that live price all the time. Otherwise we can set it to a fixed price and nominate a price in there. So the cool thing about using this feature here is that we can set up trigger points so that if there is a variance over a particular percentage, we can notify you to make sure you're hitting some minimum margins there, and definitely not losing on the price that you're selling to the customer. We then have our supplier cost price, which becomes a little bit more relevant if you're using our warehouse management system. And then we have a customer buy price. So the value that's been generated there is based on a predefined pricing structure that's within the system, and it takes a look at the end user that the quote is for, as well as the product, and marries the two up to find the most relevant pricing structure and price there. Also, if you've got permission, you'll be able to override that price where applicable. And lastly, we have a subheading name there, which just allows you to group certain products together on the quote to make it a little bit easier for the customer to read. And once you're happy with those details, we just click Save. Okay, so we can see the line item here has now been added. If we need to quickly update some of the details on the line item, we can just click into some of these fields here. We can also update the quantity and the customer's price if necessary. So we can click on new line item to continue to add new products there. Otherwise we can go and add some freight by clicking the Add Freight button here. Now, if you've got freight rules configured in the system, that'll automatically populate the customer's price here. And again, you can go and override those if necessary. And we just click Save, and we can see that that's been added there now. Now you'll also see an Add Fees button here. So within the system we have the ability to create what are called fee structures. And a fee structure allows you to create different types of fees that are relevant for different customers and product sets, and allocate some sort of a dollar figure against those. Now, if there are any fee structures set up which are relevant to the customer and the products that they've ordered, by clicking this button it will add all of those fees automatically to the quote. So once you're satisfied with the details in the quote and ready to send it on to the customer, from the quote processing workflow drop down, we've got a couple of options there. We can either run the quote transition, which will send an email copy straight off to the customer. Otherwise we can print it to PDF to generate our own version of the document before sending it on. So we can see we've now got a PDF version of the quote, and we can either drop that into an email separately, or we can go back through and send it to the customer through the workflow system.